Metroid, the video game series that might have the widest gap between how much fans love it and how much its publisher seems to despise it. Metroid is a game so foundational that its name became a genre, or half a genre. But Castlevania had to chop off half their title to become part of the genre, so I think Metroid wins on that one. The plot of the original Metroid is that space pirates have stolen a Metroid, a jellyfish-like alien that can absorb and produce enormous power, and is capable of rapid multiplication. The space pirates are using the Metroid as a weapon to blackmail Galactic Society, and after a frontal assault on their homeworld failed, the Galactic Federation has resorted to sending in a single person to take out the base. The mysterious armored bounty hunter, Samus Aran. As is a standard requirement for any mission that involves one person going in to eliminate everything, Samus only has their armor at the beginning. Everything else will have to be collected on site. And that's one of the big keys to Metroid. You have to find power-ups to let you advance to the next area, which will let you collect additional power-ups so that you can backtrack and go to different areas, and hopefully collect enough stuff that you can take out the two space pirate captains, and then destroy their leader, Mother Brain. Samus's initial loadout is pretty weak. They have an arm cannon that can be aimed up if necessary, but not down and not at angles, and the range is very short. You fire by hitting B, and you can jump by pressing A. The items that you can collect in the original Metroid are fairly limited in number. You've got the Marumari, located right at the start of the game, which will let Samus curl into a ball to roll through tight spaces. Samus can't crouch or crawl, which makes it difficult to hit all of those enemies that are low to the ground. The next item that you're likely to find is a missile pack. Each of these increases Samus's missile capacity by 5, and you switch to firing missiles by hitting select. Most of the doors with goodies behind them are locked by red doors that require 5 missiles to open. So you pretty much have to get a missile pack before you can do anything else. Missiles can also take out some of the tougher enemies in one hit, useful since most enemies in Metroid require a real pounding to destroy. You replenish your missiles by collecting ones that are dropped from enemies. Next stop on our tour is an energy tank. These increase Samus's maximum health by 100. Initially it's 99, and Samus can have a maximum of 6 tanks for a maximum of 699 health. There are more than 6 energy tanks in the game, but that doesn't mean collecting the extra ones is useless, since getting an energy tank restores Samus to full health. The other way to restore health is by collecting the health drops from enemies. These tend to be very small and very slow to restore your life. That becomes a problem if you get defeated, because Samus will restart with 30 health. Once you have more than a couple of energy tanks, it will take you 10 or 15 minutes to get back to full strength. Or even strong enough where you won't just get slaughtered by whatever monsters you come across. Next on the tour of power-ups are the bombs. These give Samus an attack to use when curled up. Just a little blast that will demolish everything in the area. It'll also make Samus bounce up if they're in the blast. Bombs are vital for opening passages that you can roll through. Any block that can be destroyed can be taken out by any kind of damage, but since Samus can't duck, you can't hit the low ones without the bombs. With the bombs in hand, it's possible to get the Ice Beam. It freezes any enemy hit by it in place. And then you can use those enemies as steps to get higher, or shoot them again for damage and to unfreeze them. The Ice Beam isn't a great weapon. Freezing doesn't hurt enemies, so you have to shoot them twice as much to defeat them. However, the Ice Beam is almost required to beat the game. It is technically possible to get through the final section without freezing enemies, but it is also very unlikely that you can pull it off. The Ice Beam's alternate is the Wave Beam, which I didn't collect while I was recording. It has the power to shoot through walls, does extra damage, and travels in a path where it will hit things low to the ground. High Jump does the obvious thing and lets Samus jump a lot higher. There's a later jump power-up that I didn't collect called Screw Attack that turns Samus's jumping somersault into an attack. The High Jump lets you access the Barrier Suit. Okay, I guess that one's permanently localized as Varia, though it really is supposed to be Barrier. It reduces the damage that Samus takes by half. The final power-up is the Long Beam. It increases the range of Samus's shots. You can get by without it, but it will make your life a whole lot easier once you've collected it. One consideration as you're finding your way through the maze of passages is that Metroid is on a time limit. Okay, technically you can take as much time as you like to beat the game, but there are 5 different endings, which change depending on how long you've taken. Most of these endings have Samus remove part of her suit to reveal that she is a woman. If you manage to complete the entire game within an hour, she'll strip down to her underwear. Of course, to do that, you both have to know the map by heart, and be willing to ride that line of not collecting enough power-ups. The biggest obstacle to completing the game quickly is dying, though not because it'll set you back. In fact, sometimes that's useful. When you continue, you go back to the start of the loaded map area. And if you save your progress to the disk, reloading will take you back to the beginning of the game itself. Both of those could be very useful shortcuts. Now, the problem is recovering your health, and for that reason, it becomes useful to leave an energy tank uncollected near the start, so that you could fill up instantly on your run to the final boss. Enemies just don't drop a lot of health in Metroid, and it's easy to wind up on a long grind as you try to build it back up that way. You might notice that the chambers that you pass through in Metroid only scroll in one direction, horizontally or vertically. However, the whole map fits together seamlessly. There are sections of the game that loop, and they don't fudge the distance that you have to travel anywhere. I really need to point out that Metroid on the Disk System has an amazing soundtrack. If you're only familiar with the soundtrack for the cartridge version, it's worth playing this version just for the improved music and sound. Composer Hirokazu Tanaka really took advantage of the wavetable channel, and I think Metroid sounds better than any game on the Disk System. Naturally, Metroid launched a franchise. A franchise that has moved in fits and starts over the years. While the Metroid released on the Game Boy is the immediate follow-up to this one, it's really Super Metroid where the series takes off, and then stops dead for a decade. There was a remake of this particular one as Metroid Zero Mission, which included a lot of extra content and quality of life improvements. Looking at this original Metroid game, however, I'm going to say the same thing that I think everybody says when they go back to it. It's got a lot of rough edges. I don't mind the lack of the map, or that you have to bomb and shoot everywhere to find all of the appropriate passages. It's the painfully slow recovery that really drags the game down. Shooting through enemies is often the worst thing you could do, because it both slows you down and puts you at risk of taking a lot more damage than you'll possibly recover from killing one enemy. Also, the rather limited quantity of power-ups means that there really isn't a whole lot of Metroidvania in the original Metroid. In the context of the time, this is an above-average action game. Its biggest strength is its connection to one of the most important video games ever made. You can look at it and go, this is significant, but those rough edges can make it really annoying to go back to.